I cannot believe how we're still saying that Real Housewives of Miami is still having a tremendous, monumental season after season after season since their return, since their reboot. And I don't know if they've just been lucky in regards to, everyone has something happening to them, the timeliness of things. But I also think it is based off the casting because we have a mix of what we originally got from Real Housewives of Miami and what we are getting with this new sort of additions that they've added to the cast. But another stellar episode. Come on now. Let me do a little applause. I got a little. Guys, as you know, this is our weekly recap of the Real Housewives of Miami. I have plenty of things to say, plenty of thoughts, but don't forget, you can hear the audio version of this if you want to take me on the go. If you're traveling, this is a perfect time to add Kempire to your favorite podcast. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I'm trying to get to 500 reviews on both platforms before 2024. We have a week. Okay, but I know that we can do it. The same way that we are selling out in DC and New York. New York, we are almost sold out. Our meet and greets are almost sold out. Our general tickets are almost sold out. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, don't waste any more time. Tickets are selling fast, thankfully. Shout out to DC as well. More information on all that will be available in the description of this episode or description of the video, whatever you're watching or listening to. But we got to talk about this episode of The Real Housewives of Miami. And I'm sure in a couple of weeks, Miami will still be ongoing. Maybe we'll have the reunion. I got to figure it out. Because New York show is what? A month away. A month away. Okay. Uh-oh, nervous. No. So we will probably have a lot to talk about in regards to Real Housewives of Miami, Potomac, Beverly Hills, Atlanta rumors, hot topics, lots to unpack. And that will be happening at our live show, Kempire After Dark. Again, more information will be available in the description. Let's get into the Real Housewives of Miami, though.
Baby, baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor. I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter. I got the fuse. You make a fire. I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead. Just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up. Cool.
Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like the video, be sure to subscribe, be sure to share the video because sharing is caring. And if you're listening to this, as always, don't forget to rate and review Kempire on your favorite podcast platforms, especially Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And check out everything that you may have missed. It's not just the live audio versions that you're getting on the podcast. You're also getting special episodes like we've done over the last few years. And of course, past interviews with people like Brandy, Oprah, and so many more. Kempire on your favorite podcast platforms. Let's get into this Real Housewives of Miami recap because I just watched it for a second time. As you can see, I'm not in my studio, so I appreciate all of you bearing with me. The content is coming out. You'll probably be able to hear this on Christmas Eve your time, but it's Christmas Eve already here in Tokyo, Japan. I'm enjoying a lot of what this culture has to offer. You know, I've traveled around the world, thankfully, and this culture is so different than any other culture that I've seen or experienced, and it's fascinating, and I can't wait to talk more about it. And that will probably be a podcast exclusive. All right. So let's get into this Real Housewives of Miami recap. As I started this video, I told you that I feel like Miami has been so consistent since they came back. And it's not because of you, Larsa. It's just saying, it's not because of you, Larsa. That's not the reason to watch. I don't mind Larsa, but I just thought about it as I was saying this. I was like, what? Why am I loving Miami so much? And I thought about Larsa, and I was like, oh yeah, it's not because of Larsa. But I don't mind certain commentary from Larsa, but we will get there, I think. There's not a lot to say about Larsa in this episode. This episode is all about Lisa Hochstein. All right. So, the ladies, as you know, and I told you during our last recap of the Real Housewives of Miami, that I was surprised that they had immediately went to have lunch as opposed to going to play croquet. But they probably were like, "We're hungry. Let's do this first, and then we'll play the game." So there's older guys there playing this game. So they decide, okay, in this episode we're gonna go and play the game. But last week's episode ended with Marisol getting a Google alert letting her know about this new revelation in Lisa's situation. So the group, everyone, including Larsa, chimed in and they were like, how is she spending $10,000 at Instacart? She's not very financially responsible. She needs to be a little bit better with that. They're talking about her relationship with Jody. So they're talking a lot of stuff, and the entire group feels that way. Gertie's like she needs to drive a Corolla. Why is she still driving Lenny's car, especially after he's accusing her of putting listening devices in these cars? So they're like, why is she using his car? Alexia then reveals like she's like, you know what? I've never really bought a car for myself. When she was with her baby's daddy, he got her a car. When she was with Herman, he got her a car. Now that she's with Todd, he's gotten her a car. Must be nice, Alexia. But am I judging Alexia for that? No. Look, she doesn't know that life. Some of you don't know that life either. I mean, I can't relate, but good for her. I'm not gonna be mad at somebody for that. Um, I might be mad at you if you're complaining later in a divorce and you don't have a car. Just saying. Then there's that. But Alexia seems to, despite all the trials and tribulations of her life, she seems to have come out of it okay. All right. But she says that she's like, first of all, she doesn't even know what a Corolla is, because Gertie's like, a Corolla. She should get herself a Corolla. But they're also talking because Alexia feels like Jody should have gotten a car for Lisa. They've been dating 9 months. They're just dating. Larsa chimes in and she says, "Yeah, Jody doesn't have any money to take care of Lisa. He's taking care of his ex-wife." See, she was dropping a lot of tea, but when confronted at the table, homegirl was just sipping on her drink. She's not saying a word. Not saying a word. Okay, so the group is all reacting. Everyone has their opinions on what's going on with Lisa, and we shared our opinions. Before I continue with our Real Housewives of Miami recap, just in case I forget, Lenny, you're trash, but I probably won't forget because of the way this episode ended. All right. So the entire group feels like they should confront Lisa about what's going on with her and Lenny, the divorce, and what's playing out in the media. But they're like, who should be the one to talk? And Gertie's like, I think it should be Larsa. That's your friend. You're the closest to her. And Larsa's like, I don't want to be the one to start that conversation. And then they agreed that Julia should be the one. I feel like everyone's trying to make Julia relevant. Stop trying to make Julia happen. I don't mind Julia, but I haven't changed my feelings on Julia really not bringing a lot to this show. She's not the reason why I enjoy this recap or this reboot of sorts from Real Housewives of Miami. I don't hate her. I like Martina. I'm just sort of like, I could if you told me that Julia wasn't coming back next season, I would not shed a tear. I'm just saying, but I feel like this season Julia really is trying to step up, and I feel like that's why they want her to be the one to confront Lisa, because she's got to do something this season. So I feel like producers are saying, "Well, you got to do something, Julia, this season," because a lot of people find you boring. A lot of find you like, "Why are you here?" You know what I mean? Like, I don't find her little moments of trying to be funny at all. The opera singing, I'm glad it's over, but again, very forced. I think the only reason why they're trying to make her happen is because of Martina. I'm sorry to say that, Julia, but I gotta be honest. I feel like the only reason why they are trying to make Julia happen is because they Bravo loves the parallel world of being associated with someone like Martina or some sort of celebrity. Okay, but that's not the reason to watch Real Housewives of Miami. I feel like if Martina, sorry Martina, we love you, but even if Martina was to go, Martina's not on the show a lot. She's not on the show a lot. Thank you for your services, Julia, but next season, just saying. My opinion, my recap. Doesn't matter what you think. It does matter. You guys can share your thoughts and how you feel in the live chat and also in the comment section. But that's just how I feel. Okay? Oh, okay. Moving on. Then this turns into, speaking of Julia, because as you know, I almost completely forgot last week's episode. Jet lag is jet lagging because Julia was bringing up about Marisol's ex. So Marisol and Alexia get into it because this season, Alexia is really trying to beat up Julia's you know what, and not in that way. But she really is, and it's weird to me. But we've been saying the reason why we feel Alexia has sort of turned a page when it comes to Julia and Nicole is because the fans turned on her dramatically last season, and I feel she's been very self-conscious of it, so she really wants to sort of like be friends with Julia this season. And I'm not saying that she doesn't genuinely want to be friends with Julia, but it just feels interesting timing, and it feels like she's willing to throw her own friend Marisol under the bus. So Marisol's just like, I don't feel like you're supporting me here in this situation. And normally, I would be okay with a friend saying, "Well, I don't agree with you, so I'm not going to support you if I don't agree with you." But if you see the history with Alexia and Marisol, Marisol has always had Julia, not Julia, Alexia's back. Okay, a lot. I mean, she didn't have her back during that whole Adriana boyfriend situation, which Alexia did not love. And I wonder if that's payback for that. But Alexia is just like, well, I don't agree. And this is, I always have your back. And here's the thing, I agree with Marisol, surprisingly, because I really feel if the tables were turned and this was Alexia, she would be livid with Marisol. She'd be upset with Marisol. She'd be like, why don't you have my back? You need to have my back. I get why Marisol, like, these are damning accusations from a disgruntled ex. Are we to listen to someone that is an ex to Marisol? I'm not saying that Marisol is innocent. I'm not saying Marisol isn't a puppeteer or gets the tea on these ladies and wants to bring it to, to the light. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, I'm not going to also take information from a person we don't know. None of us know this person. And it's a disgruntled ex. It's your ex-boyfriend for a reason. Why is he saying what he's saying? And he's saying it to Julia, of all people. And they're having dinners. Okay. I just saying. And some of the things that he's saying is so damning and defaming. And again, I'm not saying that it's not true, but you also have to consider the source. And the fact that Alexia's not having her bro bestie's back says a lot. Says a lot on Alexia, not necessarily Marisol. And I get why Marisol's just like, I always have everyone's back, and when I need someone to have my back, they don't. I was like, I mean, look, I kind of agree with her here, especially because of what we've seen in their friendship over the years. And like I said, if it was Alexia, Alexia would be livid. She would be livid. All right. So the crew goes to play croquet. They're playing croquet, whatever. You don't care about the croquet game. What you do care about is while they're playing this croquet game, they're being vulgar. These older men are just like, what is going on? Who are these women? They probably have never seen a Real Housewives show, which is perfect for us. So they go from that to Kiki gets a score, and she's running around. Her breast comes out, and she doesn't even realize her breast is out. And everyone's like, oh my God. And she's like, they showed the camera of the men just so excited to see Kiki's breasts. I'm sure. I'm sure. And Kiki's like, they were happy. They were happy. They were happy, Kiki. They got a lot. I mean, from the personalities to the peep show, they had a fantastic evening. All right, or afternoon. All right. Let's talk about this dinner that happens at later on later on in the episode. So as planned, Julia confronts Julia was set to confront Lisa. But before that, Julia confronts Alexia about, oh, I have to ask Todd if I can, sleep in the same bedroom as you. So Julia was just sort of like, I kind of thought maybe because I'm a lesbian, you thought that I was some sort of predator. And she was like, no, I was just making a bad sexual joke. And look, I think if she didn't keep saying it, we all would have fell for that. But it was sort of weird. It really was weird. And I don't believe 100% that Alexia, especially based off of history and how your son was in our comment section, I wouldn't be surprised. I know you swear that you are the queen of the LGBTQ community, but those be the ones. Those be the ones. But the fact that Julia is pressing for this, I'm like, Julia, you're just so desperate to have some sort of storyline, some sort of issue. But okay, girl, we will allow you this moment. All right. At one point, before we even get into the dinner, Adriana says she sees an alligator. She's like, I saw two glimmering eyes from the corner. So all the ladies are running and scared. Marisol jumped up on the table. Marisol, I don't know how safe you would have been on that chair if there really was an alligator. You wouldn't have been safe, to be honest with you. What is going on with Adriana? What do you think she saw? Do you think she just saw maybe like lightning bugs or something? I don't know. Well, she says in Florida, that's a real thing. And we know it is a real thing in Florida in regards to alligators, especially recently. Especially recently. So, Nicole mentions to the group before they start grilling Lisa that they want to redo Mother's Day for Lisa because, everything came out around Mother's Day. So she really hasn't been able to celebrate Mother's Day. So they want to celebrate her with a redo and do like a Mother's Day brunch for Lisa. Beautiful. So this is when Julia, because she's producer's pet this season, they asked, she starts the convo, talking about Lisa and how she came to Martina's F cancer event, and she's like, I was really surprised that you came with everything that you were dealing with that day. But here's the thing, and I agree with Gertie and Lars is like, okay, Julia, this was not the way to bring it up. But Julia isn't suave. Julia isn't, and it could also be an Eastern European thing where they're sort of like very straightforward. So they don't like mince words. So she brings up a couple of bad things of it, but from the jump, she starts a convo by bringing up Lisa's kids and like, where were the kids? Why didn't you, were the kids up? And she said, no, the kids were sleeping. Alexia, because she wants to have Julia's back. She was like, well, that, did you check on the kids? And so they're insinuating that maybe Lisa should have stayed for the kids instead of coming to this event. And then they go into talking about how Lisa likes to go out a lot. And so, and I really did feel for Lisa, although I think Lisa has been annoying and draining to Jody and maybe the group talking about this Lenny divorce and maybe a little dramatic at moments. I'm not saying she's overly dramatic, but there have been moments. But I felt for her because it was like bam, 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 like coming from every direction. First, they sort of almost like questioning her mothering, and I'm not a parent. I'm not a mother. I can already tell though that would be triggering for any mother. That okay, especially on camera, we have to keep in mind that there's this element. We're on camera and they're talking about this, so they bring that up. Julia brings up the fact that, where were the kids? I'm surprised that she would come, even though the kids may have witnessed or heard about this. Then the group asks about the Instacart bill. Marisol's like, "Do you have a tapeworm? Like, how come you're ordering so many groceries?" But then one of them, I forgot who it was, I think Nicole, reminded us that you can order a bunch of things from Instacart. She doesn't even reply. She starts to reply. Lisa starts to reply, but she doesn't even reply about the groceries and why it's so much a month. Then they move on to why is Lisa driving Lenny's car? So Lisa turns on Alexia and she's like, why are you driving Todd's car? Did you take Todd's car here? And she's like, well, I'm in a good place with Todd. And I have to say, I have to agree with Alexia. Lisa, you're comparing apples and oranges here. You're in a divorce with this man. Alexia is just married to this man. They're good in regards to why she's driving her husband's car. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be driving Lenny's car, but if he's accusing you of putting things in the car, you might want to get your own or do something where he doesn't own it. But she probably can't afford it right now. All right. So they're coming at her about the kids, which was like the hardest one to watch. Then the Instacart bill. Then Lenny's car. All right. And then Gertie points out in her confession, was like, notice how Larsa is very quiet, because Larsa had said, you guys can start up the conversation and I will chime in. She didn't chime in at all. She didn't chime in at all. And then Gertie asked Lisa if, maybe possibly, like they weren't done with her. Maybe possibly it was too soon getting into a relationship with Jody. And she's like, No, we've been dating for 9 months. Jody's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I mean, look, when she first announced that she was going out with Jody, I was sort of like, this might be a little too, especially because of how toxic this divorce is and how draining emotionally this divorce is. It can't be good for any relationship, friendship or otherwise. Um, but I mean, it seems to be working for them right now. But we already examined this extensively. I'm not going to go into everything that we've already said. If you missed any of our Real Housewives of Miami recaps, go ahead and check out what we said about the whole Jody and Lisa situation. But Alexia then brings up a little bit more about what happened with her and Herman because she had been fighting Herman's estate. I can't recall what she was fighting Herman's estate for. Was it over money? Was it about the fact that he had left this house to this other man? I'm not sure what she was fighting. And that's a great question to ask. You guys, I'm blocked by Andy. Go ask him that question for their reunion. What exactly were you fighting Herman's estate for? I don't recall, and I didn't Google schmoogle it. But that was interesting. But apparently, she had lost, and she was going to appeal it. And Todd had told her not to appeal it because it's toxic. And we've talked about this when we cover so many different reality TV or celebrity divorces. And we were talking about the Johnny Depp situation. We were talking about a bunch of different situations where, at some point, yes, I know it's principle, it's money, it's a lot of different things, but sometimes you just got to let that go. It's not worth the time or the energy, especially if you are in a new relationship. So Alexia brings up that whole situation that she was in comparison to what Lisa's going through. But then we have this. So they end the scene with everyone hugging Lisa because Adriana says in her confession, she's like, everyone's attacking Monkey. But mind you, Adriana didn't say anything in that moment, right? I mean, she may have said something, but she didn't shut it down. It didn't feel like she was being incredibly like helping Lisa. Lisa felt very attacked in that moment. That would have been your opportunity. Like, stop it, guys. Like, she's been through a lot, and everyone's attacking every aspect of her life. That can't feel good. And I did feel for Lisa in that moment. I did feel for her. Is what they're saying true in a lot of ways? Yeah, some of it, but some of it was a little too far. Especially questioning her mothering, talking about how she's going out partying, like that stuff can affect her custodial situation. All right. So then we have the scene with Gertie and Russell where they're talking about what happened with Lisa and was it too soon to be in the Jody situation. Russell was like, Jody has a lot of patience. He does, but he has that for now. And I've been saying that. But like I said, I'm not going to go into everything that we've said about the Jody situation over the years, over the season. It feels like years. You're draining us, Lisa. You're draining us. No, I'm playing. But am I? Am I? Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video, be sure to share the video, and if you're listening to this, as always, don't forget to rate and review Kempire the podcast on your favorite podcast platforms, and as always, don't forget to share us wherever you can share us with friends, especially because it's the holidays. I'm sure you may be listening to this with your friends, family, or whatever it may be. Turn people on to what you're listening to. Just saying. All right. All right. So Gertie then talks about how she's feeling overwhelmed because this is the beginning stages of her cancer treatment. So she says that she feels overwhelmed. She's getting like 6 different calls a day from different departments trying to set up her treatments and surgery and things like that. So Russell is trying to say like, well, this is temporary. This is not going to be for the rest of your life. This is what life is right now. But this scene for me was so important to happen after the Lisa scene because then I said to myself, again, another moment, and we talked about this during the last recap. Everyone's so focused on what Lisa's going through and supporting Lisa and let's hug Lisa after we just tore her down. And then I'm thinking to myself, you all know that Gertie right over here, battling cancer, just got the cancer diagnosis, but at no point was that thought about, brought up. I'm just like, we're all about woo 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 Lisa, which yes, Lisa's going through things, but I think we can do both. We can be like woo 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 Lisa, but woo 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 Gertie. Like what? How are you feeling? And allow Gertie to be like, I don't want to really talk about it, guys. I don't want to talk about it yet. It's still very new. And maybe look again. I always remind you that we're watching an edited show. Maybe they did, and they decided we're just going to focus on Lisa right now and we will show more of Gertie's journey later. Okay, maybe I'm giving them grace, but this is the second episode that I'm recapping and I'm mentioning that how it feels like we're like woo 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 to Lisa, but we're not even addressing or being sympathetic to Gertie's cancer journey. Just saying. And this is the very beginning. So God only knows Gertie's thinking about her friend Lisa, but also I'm sure in the back of her mind it's just like, and I'm sure she's getting messages and phone calls and things like that during this trip about her cancer treatments. Just saying. Nicole and her dad. They dedicated this episode at the end to Dr. Nicole's father, Miguel Martin, at the end. Woo. First of all, Nicole's dad, he's a handsome man. This is why he was a Rolling Stone. He's a handsome man with 8 babies. She only knew about 6. But she was supposed to meet the Hoochie Mama. Remember, she called her the Hoochie Mama at this dinner, but she got her sciatic nerve. I mean, Dr. Cole, she's a doctor. So she was like, in your 20s to have a sciatic nerve issue? So she thinks that maybe it's an excuse. Maybe this woman did not want to meet her. I immediately thought maybe she did not want to film. Maybe she did not want the world to know that she's dating this older man. I don't know. Or maybe she's got other men and she don't. No, I'm playing. She called her hoochie mama. Maybe she has other men and she doesn't want the other men to know that she's in a relationship with this man. I don't know. So she meets up with her dad. As you know, Dr. Nicole's relationship with her dad has been up and down. They documented it on this show. We found out just a couple of months ago that her dad had passed away. But again, the beautiful thing about filming these family shows and what we have with Mama Elsa is that you always have these moments caught on camera. And at least this was a good conversation that she was having her dad. Somewhat good. So she's like catching up with her dad. She's wondering, like, why didn't the girlfriend come? Why didn't she come? And then she's thinking, is it because I called her a hoochie mama on camera? Maybe. Could be, possibly. You never know. Possibly. I mean, would you go if someone called you a hoochie mama? But the father says that no, that she really did want to meet Nicole. So the father in the scene keeps going to the bathroom. And she's like, is everything good with your prostate? And I don't know if she ever came out, Dr. Nicole, on how her father died or what it was. He was fairly, I mean, he wasn't young, but for this day and age, I think he was like 69, 70 years old when he passed. I think it was 69. And he keeps getting up to go to the bathroom. I mean, he's still drinking. So who knows? Who knows? But she asked about his prostate. He's like, oh, I'm good. I'm gonna have, I'm gonna have a kid. And she's like, what? He's like, not one, but 2. Which leads to a conversation about how many kids does he have? He has 8 kids. And she was like, let's go through the list because there are 6 in my head, but there's an additional 2. And he mentions these 2 other kids that are like 7 and 8 years old. And she also revealed that there is a kid that he had while he was still married to her mom. And I believe that kid's like the same age as one of her siblings. All right. So I mean, he was like, look, we get it. I think at this point, if the mother can forgive him and still be friendly with this man, she had still been friendly with this man after all this, we can forgive. If she can forgive him, we can forgive him. We don't know this man. And may he rest in peace. But he was one of those Rolling Stones. But as I'm watching this, I was like, I can see why. He had a very charming way about him. He wasn't a bad looking guy, even as he's gotten older. God only knows what he looked like when he was younger. But even as an older guy, I was like, that's a handsome older man. And the way he carried himself, I was like, he's like, and this is why people like Alexia and Marisol, like he reminds us of some of the older guys in the Cuban community that they grew up with and they know, and like so they had an affinity to him when they met him at her engagement party. So it's so strange to watch a scene when you know that this person has passed on. But at the same time, I'm sure Dr. Nicole seeing this episode was probably really hard for her to watch if she even watched it with that scene because it was probably like one of her last moments with her dad. And they've had a tough, go of it on this show and sharing their journey. And they talked a little bit about this and they flashed back to the therapy session that they had last season. But I hope that she did make some sort of peace with her dad before then. And hopefully she'll stay connected with her siblings because there are 8 of them. And God only knows if he already had the twins by the time that they were having this scene, that means there's 10 possibly out there. I guess she will give us an update during the reunion. Another question to ask Andy: did he actually have twins? Did he have any more kids? What was the grand total of Miguel Martin's kids? Damn, that's a lot of kids. Um, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. But it was a beautiful scene. It was a beautiful scene. Lisa, this final scene, because I have to say, I watched these episodes of Real Housewives of Miami, and some, like when I'm watching Love and Marriage Huntsville, it's like, is it done yet? Are we almost done? Sorry, Love and Marriage Huntsville, but it's true. But then I watch Real Housewives of Miami, and then I'm like, oh, we're done. Where'd the time go? Where'd the time go? Same amount of show, and mind you, I'm watching it on Peacock, and I have no commercials, so it's even like, anyways. So Lisa takes her kids to a dance place for dance lessons, specifically her daughter. She wants her daughter to do some of the things that she did when she was younger. I can't believe her daughter's only 3, 4 years old. That's really, these kids are young. So she takes them there so that she can learn ballet, and she's having a really good time. So Lisa's there doing that. And I'm not saying that this, but I'm gonna say it because this is my review, and I'm gonna say what you guys are probably thinking. I felt like this scene was timely because of what she's being accused of in this lawsuit, this new motion that Lenny filed, saying that she's an unfit mom and that he wants 100% of custody, and then alluding that she might have a pill problem. Sidebar: I didn't know that Lisa had ADHD, and for ADHD you take Adderall for it. So him saying that, oh, he's overheard her, trying to get drugs, illegally. Goodness. But Lisa FaceTimes with Adriana, and Adriana, she's like, I really can't talk. She's having this conversation on FaceTime in the room. I don't know why she just step out of the room. I mean, I know it's her young kids, but she ends up stepping out of the room regardless when Adriana gets there. But Adriana says, where are you? Oh, I'm not far from there. I'll come. Adriana, here's the thing. I saw a story this past week that Adriana went out on a date with Captain Jason. Everybody named Mama went out on a date with Captain Jason from BravoCon. But apparently she went out on a date with him. They may have kissed, but she had asked him to be on Real Housewives of Miami. But he was like, I'm not interested in doing that. So I feel like Adriana is desperate for a full-time role, desperate for camera time. I really do feel that. And I felt like in this moment, she just happened to be not too far from there. Because even Lisa was like, were you around here? Were you in the neighborhood? She was like, yeah, I wasn't too far. Did anyone else notice that? I was like, Adriana just wanted to film. And one of the ways for her to film is to film with a full-time person. So she wants to have a moment, so she has this moment by like, oh, I'll come to where you are. You could tell that she wasn't ready to film either. She looked like she was just like, oh, you're filming? Let me. And I don't know if she knew that Lisa was filming that day. I know they have call times, but I don't know if she was on the call sheet for that day for filming. But it's perfect for producers, so they're like, yeah, come on over, we're gonna be here. Or maybe they planned it that way and they wanted to make it seem like she was in the neighborhood. Who knows? But for me, it came across a little desperate that that's what Adriana. He's just like, oh, where are you? I'll come meet you. So she meets up with Lisa, and Lisa breaks down about this new motion and what Lenny's accusing her of, and that he wants 100% of time with the kids. Lenny, you are working all the time, so who's going to take care of these kids? Your nannies, your mother, the new hoochie mama. You want the kids 100% of the time. I mean, this is Florida. I know some people are like, well, no, the the courts are not going to do that to the mom. Florida's a little different. I don't know the logistics of Florida, but those of you that are familiar with Florida family law, please chime in. I vaguely recall like Florida might not be the state for us to assume that, yeah, Lisa might not have a problem. If I can recall, but I'm an attorney, but I cover a lot of these stories, and every state is very different on how parents are treated. So I am a little concerned for Lisa in this whole situation. But regardless, no matter what state it is, to be accused of any of this and the risk of it all, because you just never know, no matter what a state it is, a judge might be like, "Oh, I see just cause, 100% custody to Lenny." I don't see that happening, but you just never know. And it's just another thing for Lisa and what she's going through. So she breaks down, and I do feel for Lisa. Don't get me wrong. I know we've been critical of Lisa and how much she's complained to Jody, but she really is going through a lot. And some people might say, well, she kind of knew what she was dealing with. Yeah, but it's one thing to think that you know what you're dealing with until you're actually dealing with that person and the amount of lows that they go to. Like, I'm sure she's probably never really seen this level of petty from Lenny, you know? So, and she's accusing him of physical abuse. So, we're going to continue because they end this episode with that scene with Adriana, and Adriana ends it by saying, you know what really, because she's talking about what's going on with Lenny, but Adriana want to bring it back to the girls, and she's like, you know what really pissed me off was how the ladies were attacking you. Adriana, forever the protagonist, knows how to keep the story going and keep it about the women. And look, I think we can all agree that I did feel like that dinner was a lot. You know, you could feel what you feel about Lisa, but it really felt like they were attacking Lisa unjustly. And like from every corner, her motherhood, her boyfriend, her finances, you know, like everything they were attacking. And it was like, okay, this is a bit much. This is a bit much. But Miami's still bringing it. How would you guys rate this episode? I would definitely rate this episode. This was definitely, I was going to say 8.5 again, but I'm going to give it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9. I thought it was a great episode. And we're like halfway through the season almost. I think we're, more than halfway through the season. Miami is still bringing it. Miami, fire. Guys, again, more information on how you can support the channel or any of the information of, our social media, our cameos, our PO box, all that is available in the description of the episode that you're listening to or watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kempire podcast so that you can take us on the go when you're listening. It's a great way because it's probably a lot easier to listen to our episodes while traveling versus trying to download YouTube videos and things like that, especially if you don't have premium and things like that. So it's a great way of taking our live recaps, especially during the holidays. I know a lot of you are in holiday mode, or maybe you need a break from your family. You want to catch up on what we're saying, what we're doing in regards to reality TV, hot topics, and more. So be sure to subscribe to the Kempire podcast if you haven't already. And while you're there, don't forget to give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate that. Available on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Let's get to 500 reviews on both platforms. Thank you to everyone that has already shared or voted or polled. Shout out to anyone that's bought a ticket to our New York City show on January 25th. Tickets are selling fast. Based on estimates, only maybe 10 meet and greet tickets are available left for New York. And don't forget, we just announced February 16th, our Valentine's Kempire After Dark will be in Washington, D.C. at Union Stage. More details will be available in the description. And those tickets are probably going to sell out faster than New York. And New York is about to sell out. So thank you to everyone that supports. I appreciate that. I look forward to having an amazing, fun, and great 2024 with you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Kwanzaa, because I don't know the next video that I'll be posting. So happy holidays to anyone that celebrates. Or if you're just here, happy holidays. Wishing you all good health, good cheer, all that great stuff. Everyone, I'll see you all in the next episode or next story. Take care. Miami.